Okay, so Ian, how did you find out? What was the phone call like?
Oh, it was in person. We trained as normal on Wednesday morning, um, and then got called. We had our debrief as a staff, and then got called up to the office. I assumed at the time to have a meeting about, I don't know, something along the lines, either something boring like operational and our plan for travel this weekend, or something exciting like, some of the top talent that we're trying to recruit for next season, or something to that effect, and join the conversation. But then as I entered the conversation, clearly the dialogue was going to go in a different direction, and the direction was, to my surprise but delight, the opportunity to take the helm of the first team at USL 1 level, and steer the ship to forward. So that was it was surreal and strange, and but at the same time, really exciting.
And you're taking over for John, and John is going to be looking at things now from the development perspective and 30,000 feet, and making sure that the franchise continues to grow in the direction that you're a part of with the League Two team and now with the League One team. What have you been able to learn from John that you have taken as a part of your coaching fabric, I guess?
Oh, quite a lot, to be honest. But one of the main things is personally, I'm a massive soccer junkie, but when it comes to the X's and O's and details of the game and so forth, but, the amount of time that John invests in the players off the field, in terms of his strict adherence to holding individual meetings with the guys, and the general, the content of that conversation is sometimes about soccer, sometimes about something that's prevalent in that week and the players want to speak about, but quite often it's, as I listen to those conversations, is about life, is about stuff beyond the field, is about them as a human being. And he doesn't pay it lip service, he really does care. He cares about each guy that he brings in, and wants to invest in them as young men. And I think I think right now those guys want to hear about soccer. They want to hear about, what they need to do to get in the team or stay in the team and those things. But I think as they go on in their lives, beyond the field, I think some of those conversations and some of the things that John challenged them on, whether it was reading books or to kind of have a broader spectrum of thoughts of what they want to do in their life, I think those things will pay dividends down the line. They don't know it right now, but I think it'll have an indelible mark on them as they progress as a husband, as a father one day, and so forth. So that side of it was kind of new. Not that I don't invest in my players and get to know them, but the extent to which John did it was pretty cool to see, and I think something that I'd certainly like to adopt as I kind of mature as a coach.
So what was your study hall week getting ready for your first match as manager of the first team? I imagine that, let me ask, what were the nights any longer than they have been?
No, I mean, look, it is different. I've been an assistant, I've been a head coach before. When you're an assistant, you care as much as you possibly can. You do. I mean, you give 100% to the job, but it's still different when you're a head coach. It's just different, and there's not much you can do to prepare for it, to be honest. It's not like you give anymore, but it's just there's something in your brain that changes when you've got the final say, the final responsibility, and the final piece of pressure. And it's something that, to be honest, I invite that. I want to be in a position where that pressure is on you, to go and execute and make the final call and so forth. So it is different. You do stay up a little bit longer, or have a little bit extra stress in your mind, or deliberate a little bit more. As an assistant, every idea is a good idea. You can throw some things out that are maybe a bit radical, and you're like, well, why not try this? But it's different when you're on the other side and you have to decide the way you're going forward. You have to focus your mind a little bit more, and you've got to pick that. You have to pick the option that the team are going to have to buy into and believe in and go forward with. So it's different. But thankfully, I had a great experience at Eckerd College before, and kind of preparing me for that. And then having been part of this club up to now, and John and I are kind of very aligned in many things. We have our differences and different ways of approach and stuff, but we're aligned philosophically on quite a few things. So that was different, but at the same time, I was prepared for it, and thankfully the work we've done so far, the preparation was a crash course. We found out on Wednesday, the rest of the Wednesday was a blur. I remember sitting down watching I stayed up late on Wednesday night watching, rewatching Into Miami or Fort Lauderdale, however you want to phrase them, until late. Thursday morning, woke up, I hadn't watched a thing. I'd sat and watched them. My eyes were on the screen, but I hadn't watched it. I didn't wake up with a clear game plan of exactly what it was I saw the previous night. But through Thursday, the realization of the position and the opportunity, the excitement evaporated and the focus came clearer. And by the time we left on Friday, we had a good plan. The fields were really heavy on Thursday. We had a lot of rain. And so Thursday's session, I scrapped quickly the idea of trying to get any tactical changes over there and then. I thought that'd be a waste of time. I thought players would have too much nervous energy to go into something tactical. I might have too much nervous energy. So we just made sure that the intensity was where it needed to be. And that they were, physically they were prepared. And we did make some changes. Some just because it's my preference and how I want to defend, and some because Fort Lauderdale pose really, really tough challenges to negate. So we made some defensive adjustments, but we did them on Saturday through film. Once we got to the facility as well on Friday night at Fort Lauderdale, it was just, the boys felt like they were in Disneyland. The facilities are incredible. It's a wonderful place. It's really exciting for American soccer to see that type of investment in a facility and all the bells and whistles. That was really fun. We enjoyed Friday night. We embraced that facility and really enjoyed ourselves. And then Saturday we put some things in place through video and went and played the game.
And you went up against Jason Christ.
Yeah. Thankfully, I knew about him beforehand when we played in the first end, but thankfully I didn't look him up on Wikipedia until after the game. And after the game, I realized, oh, wow. No wonder they have such a clean, nice identity and a really nice style of soccer, because looking at his resume, it's certainly far superior to mine, to say the least. But
when you got out of the meeting and they told you the news, who did you call first?
My wife. Yeah.
How far away from your ear did you have to hold the phone when she gave her response?
I'll be honest, my wife's, was a very, very even keel person. So she was like, "Oh, that's cool." So it was just it was a courtesy call, and yeah, it was to some degree I was so by surprise that it was. Usually you interview for these things, and in a sense I have interviewed, don't get me wrong, but didn't know that was a moment was going to happen. So the surprise factor can overwhelm anything. There's no run into it. So it's just like, "Hey, darling, just so you know, it's probably going to be announced here in about 30 minutes that I'm the new head coach, and just want to let you know first." And then I let my parents know, and then we went up and told the players, and that was it. It was a swift transition.
And then your phone blew up.
And then phone blew up. Yeah, a lot. You get a wide array of messages. Some friends, some speculative, some a wide array. But I appreciate all the messages, and to be honest, that kind of stuff just takes so much energy through the day to deal with. That Wednesday's a blur. That day there was no planning. Like I said, it was silly to even sit down and look at the tape, and then. But come Thursday and come Friday when we left, I knew, and we'd already done our analysis of Fort Lauderdale. We had a very clear idea who they were by that point anyway. But yeah, so there was not much time to digest it. And once you get on the bus on the Friday morning and you're going, I knew, as fuzzy as my head was the day before, I knew as soon as we did that everybody would, the narrowness of the focus would come very, very quickly. And we had a job to go down there. We had and still have a very big hole to dig ourselves out of, but we took step one of that, and hopefully we'll take more steps.
And that's the other thing I was going to get into you with here, is that Greenville is far and away right now. Of course, obviously they've played more matches, but they're up 7 on second place Chattanooga. And right now everyone is chasing after that second spot. And I know that you've got a lot of folks that you can hopscotch, but when you look at USL League One this year, I think that the level of competitiveness is something that a lot of folks kind of knew was going to happen going in, because there's that gaggle of folks from 2 through about 8 or 9, where if you have a good week or you have a good piece of schedule compression, you can really rocket up the standings. What do you think?
I think that's certainly true. I mean, I think there's 2 ways to have a really, really good league. And I think it's at either the absolute quality level is extremely high, or the absolute competitive level is extremely high. And while I do think that we have some really good quality in our league, I think what makes this league exciting is that the absolute competitive level is extremely high, and that's what fans want to see. They don't mind seeing somebody run away with it if they've just got a superstar like Michael Jordan or something. But for them to really tune in, they want to see ebbs and flows. They want to see, guys overtaking each other and competing all the way to the very end. And obviously Greenville have done an exceptional job to date. And I think you're probably right. I think they're a little bit adrift from everybody. And if they stay on the same trajectory, they're going and they'll be in the final. But then that second place is, I wondered, because there's only 2 places this year, whether we'd have a fun run in, whether my fear for the league was that 2 teams would separate themselves and then it can be a bit of a lame duck season. And that might happen before the final day, but I've got a funny feeling looking at it, like you denoted to there, that come the final day of the season, there could be a scenario where at least 2, maybe 3, up to 4 teams have a chance on the final date mathematically of getting second place. And that's cool. Now, where we are right now is we've got 2 results in a row in terms of Omaha and then getting the win. And now we just need to, like I said, we're in a big hole, but we need to climb ourselves out of it. And we go to Omaha, we've got some rest now. Other teams are playing each other. This will be the first time that we're not the team having played multiple games in a row and other teams being rested. We've got a chance to put some principles back into play in the training field in the next 2 weeks, and then go to Omaha and trying to take that next step. And that's all we're focused on, taking the next step and trying to put 2-3 performances in a row together and to get a wee bit of consistency. And then after each week, we'll reassess where we are.
I loved playing high school sports. I loved the competition, the camaraderie, the bands, the crowds, all the pageantry, and I wanted to keep playing. But I graduated. No colleges called, and neither did the pros. So, to stay close to the game I loved, I decided to become a high school official. A referee. When I played high school sports, I learned the importance of integrity, good sportsmanship, and respect for the rules. Now, as a high school official, I get to help model these same values to others. Maybe the colleges and the pros didn't call, but the kids in Georgia did. And now, I'm enjoying the competition, the camaraderie, the bands, the crowds, and all the pageantry of high school sports all over again.
Interested in becoming a licensed high school official? Go to highschoolofficials.com to learn more and begin the application process.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Now, great to have Darin van Tassel joining us to get his perspective on things in a very busy week when it comes to life in Statesboro where Tormenta is concerned. I thought it was really cool, Darin, when I got to ask Ian, it's like, okay, how'd you get the news? And he says, yeah, I just go into a meeting and I'm thinking it's going to be something basic, and then they drop that on me. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, last Wednesday was a big day for the franchise. We, John Millareso, we met with him and elevated him to the technical piece director and with the entire franchise. And then we met with Ian Cameron and let him know. And then we met with the players right after that. So it was very closely held. Mitra and I had gotten together and felt like the time was right now to do that. And so, off we go. Loved the results the first weekend. I think anytime you make a massive change inside a franchise, getting quick results like that makes everybody really feel good about them. And listen, everything that we're trying to do is how do we get this thing right? How do we get the franchise nailed down to tighten it up so that we can grow and flourish? We have the right people in place. We've people just care so much about us, and I'm really looking forward for the players to hear the voice from Ian Cameron.
What does Ian bring to the table in your mind?
Well, he's a super smart person. I think he absolutely has the trust of a whole bunch of players too, and I think he earned that from League Two season last year. I think when you come in and you nip the League One side in Chattanooga really early on in the Open Cup, and you watch that League Two team with the kind of successes that we're having, because we train together, League One and League Two, and I think you build some immediate rapport with that. But he's obviously been an assistant with us all season, and so it was a known commodity. So there's one, and I think there's I think it gives us a bit more offensive component to the whole piece. And I have always said you get yourself surrounded by really good people. John Milleracey and Ian Cameron are two of those people, and you get the players right, and hopefully the owners can get it out of the way as much as they can. We've got 5 games to go, and Tormenta is going to fight like heck right down the stretch to hopefully make one of those 2 playoff spots.
And it is a gaggle right now. Basically, you go from 2 to 9 or 10, and you have a good week in the schedule compression. You can really rocket up the table, and along those same lines, you have a really bad week, and you can drop like a stone. I mean, I think that, and when we talked in the past, that's what USL League One has wanted. They've wanted competitive nature. They wanted a competitive nature of play all the way through the season, and you're getting that with that sprint. Yes, Greenville has some space on everybody, but 2 through, X, you have a good week and you can really tighten things up.
We went from 9th to 5th, just in one with 3 points. It just happened that fast. Didn't that make for a fun league? I'm really, really impressed with the clubs everybody's putting together. We went through our stretch of 5 games in about 16 days right at the beginning, and everybody else is about to bump into that now. We're off this weekend. We're about to see how the clubs handle it. Unfortunately for us, we hit it where we only had about 12 and 14 people eligible during our games. But that's sports. You play with it, and you have to pump through it. And you can avoid injuries. And this year, obviously, quarantines. Clubs that have been able to do that are coming out on top. But every game is so wild. I stayed up late last night. I watched Tucson take Forward Madison down earlier in the day. You had Richmond grab 3 more points against a really good Fort Lauderdale team. There's so many players on that team that we just played. They're going to be playing in the MLS for Miami here shortly. It's fun stuff. If you like watching soccer grow, League One is where your attention should be.
We've talked about Ian. Let's talk about John here a little bit and what John has brought to the table in building the on-the-field product and the off-the-field environment and vibe with the players that he's brought in. When I mention the name John Milleracey, what comes to mind?
John's seen the vision here from day one. He helped me form some of my own vision, to be fair, whether it was from, the 8-10-year-olds at the academy all the way through what the first team should look like, a style of play, a philosophy. I think he saw it so well. He talked himself out of a head coaching job. But we need somebody in that position. John Milleracey is the person. He's got Tormenta running through his blood, and being able to identify those players through the academy. And we've got to have a really strong presence, I think, in the USL Academy piece that's moving on. I hope it says a lot that at Tormenta, that John Milleracy committing that level of resource to it matters, but we need someone with that 30,000 foot view. John sees that for us. The club that's playing right now is part of his architecture, and we look forward to a really long time with John's presence.
And you've got some time to get ready for USLA with that coming up in the spring of 2021. What's going on right now off the field with Tormenta? I know that there's a lot of things that you have. There's a lot of different chainsaws that you're juggling right now when it comes to the future of Tormenta. What else is going on?
Well, stadium building never stops. I think if I taught a class on soccer stadium building 101, here's the reminder. You spend a couple of years getting buy-in, then you spend a couple of years getting your infrastructure down. You get roads and water and sewer and traffic lights and bike lanes and asphalt, curb and gutter. None of it's sexy. It's not terribly fun. But now that we just finished that part, we get to start now moving on the pieces around our stadium anchor development, and it's time to go vertical. And we're doing that at a time where COVID and a national and global pandemic is still alive and well. So now we're timing what those pieces are, right? We got to have that stadium open when we think we can fill it. And we're starting to ratchet up that process now. We believe that we're close enough to be able to do that. So, we start meeting with everything from the kind of bricks that I know John Nelson in Soccer Down Here, I will donate it for you. Will be in the, in the Ibis Walk. I just came up with that. Maybe I think that's what we got to call it.
Yep.
From the clubhouse to the stadium, and the kind of trash cans that are going to have the right branding. We're at that stage that we had to put on pause for a little bit to get through where we are. We're also at a time of the year where you have to start making plans on the roster for next year. Our season here, the championship game is going to be on October 30th. I'm not sure if the league's announced it yet, but I'll announce it here.
There you go.
And it's going to have a national audience with ESPN Plus, but also some of the other larger ESPN parts that are there, and go some national radio too. That part's exciting for us, but it's always evolving. And I think in my job, while I want so much for my day-to-day to be on the next game and watching the game, because that's where so much of my joy comes, I'm constantly 6 and 18 months out, and it's only because someone has to do it, and it takes a lot of time and effort to make sure we're good in those areas too.
Well, when it comes to building things, it's always that infrastructure, because it's the not so sexy stuff that holds all the rest of this stuff up, and having to do it right now during the time of COVID-19, obviously it presents a lot of business issues for you and a lot of business thought that has to go into everything over here as I motion to my right as you and I are talking, but at the same time, everything you want to look at, the shiny stuff over here on the left, you've got to work on the stuff on the right so you can get everything on the left the way that you want.
Right. I really like the shiny stuff. It's my most fun. It's the new car, isn't it?
You got to have a good mechanic, and you got to make sure that your warranty is good.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I think it's like anything else. People matter. And we've been talking about two of my favorite people in John and Ian, but players and those people and personnel matter too. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I think pro sports in general, if you want to protect your team, then you've got to have the stadium and the real estate around it down pat. I think the Braves provide a wonderful model of that with Battery Atlanta. I think Atlanta United has done a lot of that in downtown, and the way the city's supported Mercedes-Benz. But we're not the only ones here in Georgia. There's plenty of other places to do. So that stadium and that real estate around it is what protects the team, to use your left and right and shiny examples there earlier.
Well, and another part of what Tormenta is becoming in a part of the framework of U.S. soccer is you're seeing now, instead of what we would always refer to as MLS 2.0, where you bring in the veteran, you sell a couple of shirts, you bring in the Lampard, you bring in the Gerrard, you bring in the Robbie Keanes, and you're going to take a bath financially. But what Tormenta has been a part of in the lower divisions is you've had the opportunity to take someone like Connor Antley, who has developed, and move him on to the next stage. And I think that that's vital when it comes to how folks look at the U.S. soccer pyramid, that you're having USL League One franchises moving players and transferring them up the ladder to help your bottom line down the line.
You know, and for us, and this is probably my baseball background where I really buy into that minor league development logic. You know, for us, I want to move those 12-year-olds onto the 16, onto the 19, onto the second team. And in the middle of that, find them great universities and colleges to play in if they're good enough. One of our academy players who's on the pro side, Tristan Deloach, inked with Clemson this week. That's huge. And it's a big deal for us because one of the captains at Clemson is James Brighton, who's also, you know, Tormenta bred. And I want those League Two players then to move up to the first team. And you're right. From there on, we want to keep supporting them. That's got to be our draw. If we're going to play pro soccer in Statesboro, Georgia, that has to be our draw. And players have to know it and feel it and believe it. And it becomes a wonderful recruiting piece for us.
What's it been like in the Tormenta community? And what I mean by that is basically taking everything from, say, Metter to Savannah and Charleston and taking that block of space. Mm-hmm. What's it been like in the community here in the time of COVID-19?
Listen, nobody asked for this time, and everybody's eager for it to go away. And, you know, you go back and forth where you lean in to everybody during these times, and then we get a little cranky and grouchy. I don't think that area you just described is different from a lot of places. You know, my philosophy that I've tried to really tell folks, if there was ever a time that we just got to be nicer to each other, it's right. It's right now. We've got to be nicer to each other. Now, that means different things for different folks, right? You know, as an organization, what does that mean to us and our fans and places in which we live? But if there was ever a time to be present, now's it. It's so easy to look 6 months out. I can't wait till we get here. I can't wait to get here. Well, that clock's going to move at the same speed. But mentally to be present, to be where your feet are, to be a part of where you live, now's the time. And I think we all have a responsibility to do just that, from Metter to south of Charleston to Hilton Head and to Savannah.
All right, so what's on the dry erase board on the fridge? What are the next markers that you're going to try to cross off and make sure that the checklist gets smaller and smaller?
Well, last week, the city of Statesboro took over Tormenta Way. I think we should pause. We should recognize that date will be celebrated each year.
Okay.
The amount of time and effort it takes to get a green road sign hung with the name and words Tormenta Way on it.
You look at one for your office?
Yep, that will be on the next Zoom call that we have to share with everybody. And there will be miniatures for sale at Retail Plus Tax and pro shops everywhere soon.
Nicely done.
But that was an emotional moment for us. And so now on the dry erase board, it's bringing in, those other pieces in terms of what we're building. On the day-to-day piece, it's also knowing who our team is. And I think part of my job is to make sure I know not just the culture of our club, but know the players and what the locker room's like, and how do I help, best take care of that. We've got our only bye weekend of the year coming up right now. We're getting healthy, and I do not think other teams want to play Tormenta right now. I know we're looking forward to our next 5 games, and we'll see what we'll do. But so much of the dry erase board is being in the moment. And, there's quite a few of us where we're going to be planning for what's ahead, but we need to be present and to stay in the moment. And I think that's what's on the board.
Well, once again, thanks for letting us catch up with Ian. Thanks for letting us catch up with you. Thanks for the update with you and Ian and John and the franchise. Obviously, we'll be poking our head in the door every once in a while, just kind of seeing how things are going, because we know that everything is growing down there with Tormenta. Darin, as always, thanks for hanging out with us here for the Tormenta update that we have here at SDH.
Thanks, John. And listen, nobody grows the game like soccer down here. Tip of the hat.